Hey guys, thanks for watching my video today. I am very excited to be here. My name is Nathan Sudduth. I am here today to teach you kids all about the lesson topic of snacks, everything you know about them, and all the different ways that you can make snacks a good way to keep yourself feeling energetic and happy all day long while you're playing outside or staying active. So the first thing that I want to get into here is a little bit of an icebreaker question for you guys that are watching at home, watching with friends, whatever it is. Talk to whoever you're with, or just think about this question when I ask it. So when you've been playing outside or you've been active as a kid, what is your favorite snack that you like to eat? What do you enjoy every time you feel hungry and you need something to fuel yourself to keep going? I want you to think about that for a few seconds, and then we're going to get right into the lesson plan today, okay? And that lesson plan is going to be all about the different suggestions that I have for you guys in terms of snacks that you can use that are both tasty and healthy for you. We're going to cover junk foods that are still considered to be snacks, but they're not that good for you. They might taste good, but might not be that good for you. So we're going to go over why that might not be good for you. And we're going to cover those topics that determine whether a food is nutritional or not, whether it's junk food or not. So we're going to go over the basic macronutrients. I'll talk about what that means. We'll talk about things that are called fat, things that are called carbohydrates, things that are called protein, and all that I can cover today in 15 minutes or a little bit more. So we're going to jump right in, okay? Here we go. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to talk about today are some basic nutrition facts. Before we get into the details of the nutritional lesson that I got planned for you guys today, I want to go over some very basic definitions of foods that we're going to be covering. So, macronutrients is a word that we use in the nutrition field to define something as a type of food that is required in large amounts in your diet. So, you have to eat large amounts of these kinds of foods in your diet in order to stay healthy and feeling good all the time. The three main macronutrients that we're going to talk about today are carbohydrates, fats, and protein. The first one that we're going to talk about today is fats. Fat is defined as a fuel source that the body uses, just to keep it simple. It's a major storage form of energy that your body uses constantly in order to make sure that it maintains a proper energy level. There's different kinds of fat that are considered good fats and bad fats, but that's a little bit more advanced than what we're going to get into today. I just wanted to talk about the basic definition here and show you guys as well some different examples of foods that are higher in fat. The main thing that I want you guys to remember today is that fat is used as a body's fuel source more so usually than carbohydrates or protein. And carbohydrates will be the next thing that we talk about. Carbohydrates are defined, simply put, as mainly sugars and starches, things that are defined as simple sources of energy. So when you're thinking back to fats in comparison to carbohydrates, fats are going to be a little bit more of a rich, denser source of energy that a body can store over time, as opposed to carbohydrates, where carbohydrates is going to be the first thing that your body uses for energy. Glucose is the main thing that you can relate to when you talk about carbohydrates. That is the amount of sugar that is in your blood. That's the amount of sugar that's present. That measures all sorts of things that we won't get into today. But the main component to remember about carbohydrates is that it is the simpler form of energy. It is mainly defined as a sugar type or a starch type, which are just types of molecules that are formed into the different kinds of foods that you and I know, such as pasta, fruits, vegetables, breads, things like that. But all in all, carbohydrates are the easier, more available, at least readily available energy source than fat when the body is looking for energy. And now the last macronutrient that we're going to discuss today before we get into our snacks is protein. Protein is defined as a substance that has many different components to it that all have to do with chemistry. That's just a component of science that you'll learn about later on if you haven't already. But basically, protein is what is known as a building block in all sorts of cells in our bodies. There are so many different components that protein makes up within our body. But the main thing that you can remember with it today is that it is great for recovering the body when you are done exercising. It is great for building muscle, for building bones, for keeping things structurally sound in your body. Basically just keeping everything together where it should be. It's the nice building blocks of that. That's the one thing I'd like for you to take away today when it comes to protein. Now, Keep in mind, all three of these macronutrients at the end of the day are sources of energy that the body uses in different forms to keep it going. That's the main thing to take away from macronutrients if someone were to ask you what you would think when you think about that. Macronutrients are different types of food that gives us energy in order to keep our bodies going the way that it should. Okay, so before we get into the snacks that we're going to be talking about today, I just want to go over a quick little review of the things we've been talking about. The three macronutrients that we covered today are fats, carbohydrates, and proteins. And we talked about how macronutrients are just different categories of foods that have different levels of energy that it provides to the body. And now, the part of the lesson that I'm sure all you kids at home have been waiting for, eager to talk about and listen to, is the topic of snack foods, particularly healthy snack foods. So, as you can see going across the screen right now, there are all sorts of wonderful examples of delicious snacks that are also just great for the body. Some different examples that you can see right there are fruits such as strawberries and oranges. There are different kinds of cheeses that are a little bit on the better side of the kind of fat that they have for you. It's a little too complicated, so we'll just keep it simple and say that those cheeses that you're seeing have the better kind of fat for you than the other kinds of fats that are out there, which will be present in junk food, which is what we'll talk about a little bit later. But just going back to this picture, there are so many great examples that you guys can see right here. There are hard-boiled eggs, great source of protein, great source of good fat for you. There are different chips, there are different wraps, there are carrots, there are hummus and pita bread and tomatoes and cucumbers, just all sorts of wonderful snacks that you guys, I hope, have already tried and enjoyed. But if you see something here that you haven't tried yet, my challenge to you today is to try something in this picture if you haven't tried it yet and you don't know what it is, because I guarantee you every single thing in this picture is delicious and it's very good for your body as well. Now, we need to talk about why that's good for your body. So when I talk about all the different kinds of foods out there that are healthy for you, when I say that they are healthy, what I mean by that is that they contain a lot of different kinds of nutrients that are essential for your body to grow. And as a child, your body is growing extremely fast all the time, and it needs all the help that it can get on the outside, meaning the food that you are putting into your body and the drinks that you are putting into your body as well. Everything that you eat and drink has a very high impact on how well you grow as a kid, how tall you might end up being, how athletic you might end up being, things like that. You just got to be healthy. You got to eat the foods correctly, and you got to continue to do it the entire time that you are alive, ideally. Having a healthy diet throughout your life is a lot easier to do when you're a kid. So, when you're thinking about healthy foods, what you want to think about is that that's a great thing. Healthy foods have nutrients. Nutrients are things that I talked about earlier on a very general sense. Macronutrients, those are the big ones, but there are things also called micronutrients. Those are little tiny microscopic, you can't even see them with the naked eye kind of a thing, but they are essential for your body to grow. Your body needs all different kinds of micronutrients. You don't need to worry about specifically what just yet. You'll worry about that when you're older, but for now, just focus on one thing. If you're going to be snacking, and you're probably going to be snacking a lot as an active little kid, you definitely want to keep your foods as healthy as you possibly can. And they can taste good too. Now, one thing I do want to bring to your attention about this picture is that it is a great example of a healthy food that you can eat. All different kinds of healthy foods, in fact, that are compiled into one delicious snack. But this food has something in it that's called peanut butter. I'm sure you guys are quite familiar with peanut butter if you haven't already eaten it. But some of you might not be able to eat peanut butter, and that is because you are allergic to it. When you are allergic to a food, that means that your body just doesn't know how to break it down correctly and process it, and it has a reaction to it that can sometimes be really bad for you and make you really, really sick. So you got to be mindful when you're choosing foods that are healthy to eat. If you're trying something new that you're not familiar with before, make sure that you have someone around that can keep an eye on you, just in case you act weird or something off happens when you eat that food, because allergies develop early on. They can develop throughout life, really at any time. They're a weird thing, but you just want to pay attention to them because they are important. So allergies, if it's a food that you can't tolerate, don't eat it. All right, and now it is finally time to talk about junk food. The topic of junk food is a little bit of a delicate one because, as we are all aware, junk food is delicious. It's something that you would want to enjoy all the time if you could, but unfortunately, it just does not have the nutritional properties that healthier foods have, like the examples of what you saw and what I talked about a little bit earlier. So, junk foods, they're really, really high in sugars and fats and not very high in protein usually, and that's not a good mix of macronutrients. You want to have a good ratio of macronutrients, and when it comes to junk foods, that's not where you're going to get it. Sodas, candies, you name it. They're going to be high in sugar. Some are going to be high in fat, but they're just really not that good for you. So, when you're looking at junk foods, you really want to treat them as a treat. You want to use them as a reward for yourself, something to enjoy once in a blue moon, maybe once a week if you can help it, because the more that you got junk food in your life, the more that it's going to become a regular kind of food for you to enjoy. And then eventually you're going to be having it on a daily basis. That's going to be a bad habit for you to form, especially as a child who needs nutrients to be growing and to properly get their bodies moving in the right direction. You really just cannot be eating junk food all the time. So, early on in childhood is when you form your habits that you're going to have throughout the most of your life. And when it comes to habits, especially food habits, it's easy for you to break them or make them during this time period. So, like I said, junk foods should be treated as a reward. They're not bad in moderation. I love junk foods just as much as the next person, but you really got to have a good balance of healthy foods between junk foods. Healthier foods at the end of the day are going to make you feel better, even though they might not taste as good, I promise you. They will help you grow a lot better, they'll help you feel a lot better, and they won't have you feeling so foggy, blurry, out of focus, kind of how this picture is right now. You can tell what all these things are, but it's not the best quality pictures like all my other healthy foods. This is kind of a blurry, not so great picture, and that's how you're going to feel if you eat too much junk food. All right, well, that just about covers everything I wanted to go over in my lesson plan with you guys today. I hope you learned a thing or two, and there's something that you can take home to your parents to impress them with your new knowledge about nutrition. So, just to review about the things that we talked about today, covered what a macronutrient is. We covered the three types of macronutrients, that being fat, carbohydrates, and protein. Those three types of macronutrients, simply put, give the body different kinds of energy at different periods of time. There are different kinds of healthy snacks that we talked about today. We talked about what makes a snack healthy, and that being is that snacks contain healthy nutrients. Nutrients are things that help the body grow, which are especially essential in a time such as yours, being a kid, where you are growing every day and you need all those nutrients that you can get to help yourself out. And then we also talked about junk foods and how junk foods are a great treat to enjoy every once in a while, but they are not a great habit to form because they are not that healthy for you in the long run at all, in fact. So, now that you know all the things that you know about nutrition, go about your days with a better mindset about the foods that you are putting into your body. And just keep in mind, when you are a kid, these are the times of your life where you are forming the habits that you are going to have probably for the rest of your life. So when you make these choices about the foods that you enjoy, make sure that the foods you are enjoying in excess, if you're going to do that, are healthy, because that'll help you out in the long run. A good habit starts early on, and I cannot stress that enough, especially when it comes to nutrition. It's very important for you guys to keep yourselves moving in the right direction as much as you possibly can. Now, I do understand that as kids, you don't have a lot of choices right now in what you're eating exactly, but you can always talk to your parents about what they may be feeding you if you feel like that's not the best thing that they could be giving you. And you could go over things that you could enjoy that are also going to help your body grow correctly. So just keep that in mind. You might be young right now, but that's okay. It's the perfect time for you to be forming habits and thinking about the foods that you want to be eating every single day. And those foods are healthy foods. And the last thing that I want to leave you guys with before I let you go is thinking about the different ways that you can make your foods at home healthier. So there are all sorts of different kind of snacks out there that we talked about today. There are different healthy examples that I gave you, and I'm sure there are plenty of healthy examples that you guys already know about yourselves. But if you have any kind of foods that are not quite healthy yet, and you know you can make them healthier, try to practice that. That's what I want you guys to do. Think about the foods that you're eating already, challenge yourself to try a new food that's on the healthier side of things, and make the snacks that you're eating regularly a little bit more healthier. An example that I could think of for myself is sandwiches that I eat. I oftentimes try to eat it with a croissant or a white wheat bread, a tasty kind of bread that has more taste in it rather than nutrition. I could change that up by making it a browner bread, which has more complex carbohydrates. A whole wheat bread is what I'm talking about. It's a lot better for you. It's got more fiber in it, got more nutrients in it, and it just really improves the nutritional profile of a snack that I was already enjoying in the first place. That's one example that I got for you. I want you to think about that for yourself. Thank you very much for the time that you've spent listening to my lesson. I hope you had a great time.